Again, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Omalala Alfred. I am an MVP Business Applications. I'm so excited to be here. I know that this is not the first time you're seeing me. If you joined the onboarding session, you probably have seen me during the onboarding session, and we are here again. So before we start the class, I want to know where you're joining us from, what your name is, and where you're joining us from. All right, today. So my name is Omola Alfred. I will be leading this current track, Perhaps and Power Automate. But for this track, automation and apps and automation, right? The goal is we'll definitely take you through the whole of what Power Platform is, right? Because Power Platform is a whole platform on its own, right? And we have so many components that comprises of Power Platform. And in all of these components, in other tracks, some of these components are what they are focusing on. But whenever we say Power Platform, we have to still explain, touch on all the other components, just a little bit, right? From all the other components. Then we'll look at real world use cases, some of the apps that I have built, some of the apps that Power Apps is used for building, right? We're going to look at all of that. We're going to simplify Power Platform licensing. Then when we are done with all these talks and all of that, we'll start building. All right. So before we start, so this is basically my agenda for you today. You understand what Power Platform is. You understand some of the real world use cases. Aside from even understanding, I'm going to show you some of the apps that I have probably built. Some of them I can't show you, but there are some that I'm allowed to show you, which I'll be able to show you today. So it would show you like the standard, let me put it like that. Then we'll start building. So if you're here in this class today, you're going to build. That's my goal. My goal is that you'll be able to build. But in this apps and automation track that you have registered for, there are 4 trainers that you will be seeing. So you'll see me today, you'll see me next week, right? Then for the 4 other classes, you will see 3 other people, but we are all together. So we are all training you on how to create apps and automation, but there are different things that will be training you on. All right. But if you have any questions and you have already joined your Power Apps and Automation group, then you will see Rukaya there. Any questions at all that you have, probably you have questions from my class, you have questions from the other 3 classes, other 4 classes, right? After my classes, that's after this class and the next class that I will be teaching you. If you have any other questions from any of the other classes, from the other 3 trainers, you can always ask Rukayat. She knows where to find us, and um, we're going to be able to answer you. All right. So yes, let's just dive deep into what we have, because somebody already asked me today what's the duration for this class. So I hope that I'm able to take you, right, to where I want you to get to today. Okay. So if you have any questions at all, please do not unmute your mic, right? Just put in the chat section, put in the QA. The QA session is open. Just put it there, whatever your question is. You can tag Rukayat, just put it there, and I'm going to look at every one of those questions before we leave the class. So please, definitely, I can't see you. I don't know where you are right now. Of course, you've told me most people have dropped to where they're joining from, but I cannot see you, meaning that I cannot say, oh, please don't leave the class and all of that, but ensure that you do not leave this class up until we are done. All right, great. So
Good
for the
try.
agenda, please don't unmute your mic so that I'm not distracted. Thank you. All right. So for the agenda, like I said, we're going to look at what Power Platform is. We'll look at reward use cases. We'll look at Power Platform licenses. We'll look at so we'll start building. Then when we start building, we'll start from the designs. We'll start from then we would write our use case together. So for this class, we're going to build an attendance app, right? For my 2 classes. The goal is we're going to build an attendance application, right? So we're going to mirror what some of the attendance application that all the tracks will be filling. We're going to mirror something like that using Power Apps. So while we build this, we will write down the requirements. We'll be the ones together, all of us in this class will be the ones to determine what we want the app to be able to do. Okay, and we'll create a database, of course. Then, of course, we'll build with Canvas. If you have any questions after the class, I'm going to take it. So let's just dive deep into what Power Platform is. You see, this image you're currently seeing is the best way to actually explain the Power Platform. All right. Now, the Power Platform is much more bigger than just apps and automation, which is the track that you have registered for, right? But they reside inside of a platform, a mother platform called Power Platform. Okay. So what you're seeing now, all these images, all these little icons that you can see with different names, they are what comprises or they are what come together to make up the Power Platform. And I will explain each of them. Now, we'll start with our best friend, which is what we can use for apps and automation. So this current track is apps and automation. It is bringing together two different components, right? It's bringing together Power Apps that you can see here in purple and Power Automate that you can see here in blue. So we'll start with Power Apps. So basically, the idea of the whole Power Platform is a data platform, right? But each of these components, they speak to data. They understand data differently. Okay. For instance, Power Apps understand data as a model for collecting the data. So what you're doing with Power Apps is an interface. All right. You're trying to create an interface where people can either drop in data, all right, or they can edit the data that they've already dropped. That's all that Power Apps does. Of course, is a lot of people will explain Power Apps as a drag and drop. We do a lot of drag and drop in Power Apps where they say you don't have to write code, but you will write code. So I don't like explaining Power Apps as drag and drop without code. It is called low code for a reason, meaning that you save a lot of time. You don't code from the beginning, right? You start with, you drag and drop a particular control, then you code that particular control to do what you want it to do. But the goal of Power Platform is to create the goal of Power Apps, okay, is to create an interface for collection of data. That's all that Power Apps does, right? But it will now be, so now on the Power Apps, we have two major types of application that you can build within Power Apps, which is the Canvas app and the model-driven application. So for this class, today and next week, and in fact, the rest of the days, because we'll give you some assignments to do. So this week and next week, these first 2 weeks, you'll be learning Canvas application. That's all you'll be learning. So inside the Power Apps, you can build with Canvas app and you can build with model-driven application. So the trainer that will come after me will teach you how to build model-driven application with Power Apps, okay? Now, where the trick comes in between the two is, you see, for Canvas app that you'll be looking at today, how you design your application is dependent on you, depending on how good you are with designs. And this is why I'm going to show you some of the applications that I have built. Or let me just say, I'm going to show you, I'm allowed to show you just one. The personal one I'm currently building, that one I can show it to you. So I'll show you the personal one, right? Because basically to just show you what is possible. Perhaps Canvas app can be very beautiful, but depending on your knowledge of designs. Okay, so back to the gist, what we're talking about. For this Power Apps that you're looking at, we can build two applications, two types of applications from it, right? Which is we can use Canvas applications and we can use model-driven applications. So we will not enter deeply into model-driven applications at all today. The goal, like I said, is for you to understand how to build with Canvas apps, okay? Now that we've talked about that, remember, the goal of Power Apps, whether you're using Canvas app or you're using model-driven application, the goal of Power Apps is what? If you remember, you can put it in the chat. I've mentioned it before. The goal of Power Apps is to do something. There's a way they relate with data, because I'm going to the next one. So there's a way Power Apps relate with data. If you still remember, put it in the chat. If you picked that while I was explaining this, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Okay, create an interface that does what to data. That does what to data? What does it do with data? Perfect. Data collection. So Power Apps is for data collection, right? You collect data, you edit data, you whatever, basically, whether you're collecting data or you're editing the data that has already been collected, you do that because you're creating an interface for that. Okay. Now we'll go on to the next one, which is Power Automate. Remember that you have registered for apps and automation. So your apps and automation, they use two components from the Power Platform, like I said, which is Power Apps and what? Power Automate. So the second one is that we'll be talking about today is Power Automate. So whilst we know that Power Apps interact with data by collecting data, Power Automate interact with data by automating that data. It's just like the name is Power Automate. So for the data that you have collected, right, you can automate it. Okay, so there are several ways to, so for Power Automate, right, there are several ways to actually collect, to ensure that people can collect data. Now, the data that has been collected from Power Apps, Power Automate can automate them. Okay, the data that has been collected, you can even collect data through forms. For instance, for your attendance, we used forms, right? And immediately you put in your data into those forms. You put in your first name and your last name and the track that you want to register for. Once you're done registering for it, you got a particular email, right? I did not send that email to you personally, right? I did not sit down to send it to each person. I was waiting for each person to submit and I was sending. No, all I did was I plugged in Power Automate to that form to say, Power Automate, I want you to listen to this form. Whenever data has dropped, anytime you've received a particular response from forms, what I want you to do is I want you to send an email. So I automated the process, and that's what Power Automate does. So the way Power Automate relates with data is that it does what? It automates the data. So remember, Power Apps does what? It collects data. It's for data collection, data changing. You change your data, you collect your data, change the data that has been collected by building an interface. But Power Automate listens to the data and it automates it based on how you want to automate your processes. That's what. So Power Automate is for automating your processes. So you cannot necessarily, when you build a Power Apps, right, you have to, whether you're building a Canvas app or you're building a model-driven application, you connect it with Power Automate. So when you've received your data, okay, you send the data to wherever you want to send the data to. Now, remember again, Power Apps is for what? Data collection. Power Automate is for what? Automating the data. All right. So it's a journey. We are going somewhere. Now, I'm going to talk about Dataverse. Okay. But beyond Dataverse, the first thing I'm going to talk about is database generally, database. So again, I want you to listen very well. Just take it as, we are gisting, all right? If you have questions, drop it there. Just drop it in the chat right now as you're listening to me. Take it as we're gisting. You're listening to what I'm saying. You have a question, just drop it there on the chat, okay? So now for your we have Power Apps that collects data. We have Power Automate that automates data, but there's something missing, right? You cannot collect the data without a database. Where are you collecting the data into? So databases are like containers where all the data that you have collected drops into, okay? So I want to collect data from Power Apps since it's a data collection interface. Where do I want my data to reside into? That is where we have databases. You should have heard of, say, SQL before. SQL is a database, right? And it's a relational database. So now you see this green icon here. That's under it, we have Dataverse. That is the dedicated database for Power Platform. right? That is the dedicated database for Power Platform. However, Power Apps allows you to connect to several other databases, okay? Databases like SharePoint. Now, SharePoint is not necessarily a database anyways. SharePoint is a document management system, but we have a section of SharePoint that is called SharePoint list, where we can actually use as a relational database. And that's what we're going to use today, right? Today we'll be using Power Apps, Canvas apps, and yeah, so today we'll be using Power Apps, Canvas apps, and SharePoint list, right? So SharePoint list is also a form of database, okay? So you cannot collect your data without having a sort of database. You need a database that will receive your data that you're collecting from all the people that you're collecting it from. For instance, you see the form that you filled has a sort of database also that is listening. Whenever you fill that form, all the data that you have submitted stores somewhere. And for that forms, Microsoft puts under the forms Excel sheets, right? So Excel is not a database, okay? Excel is not a database, right? But it has, you can use the sheets basically for so many things. You use it to analyze your data. You use it for to store your data also in rows and columns. So rows and columns is what we called relational database, right? Where once it's in rows and columns, anyways. Okay, so forms also has a place where the data is storing. So whenever you see anything collecting data, you must ask yourself, where is this data storing? Okay, so remember I said that we've talked about Power Apps for data collection. We've said the dedicated database for Power Apps is what? Dataverse. We've said Power Automate is for what? Automating what? The data, okay? Now we're moving on to connectors. So remember that I said that Dataverse is what? The dedicated database for remember that I said, so I'm seeing some very interesting questions and we're going to look at it together, don't worry. So I said that Dataverse is the dedicated database for what now? For Power Apps. But we have several other databases that Power Apps can connect to. We have several databases that Power Automate can connect to automate the data that has been stored in them, okay? Now, for this to happen, you need a connector. A connector is like a bridge. I am inside Power Apps, but I want to speak to Database, for instance. But I don't want to leave Power Apps. I want to be able to connect to Database from within Power Apps. So I need a bridge. I need a connector. Somebody, something to connect me from Power Apps to Database. That is what we call connector. And that's what you can see in like, what sort of green is this? I think this looks like, I don't want to call it teal green, but I don't know what this kind of green, but you can see it. It's called connectors. So I want to speak to SharePoint list, right? I need a connector, a bridge that will connect me from Power Automate to SharePoint list. Somebody say it's teal green. Thank you, teal green. So from Power Automate to SharePoint list, I need a connector. From Power Apps to SharePoint list, I need a connector. So connector is like a bridge, right? It's yeah, it's like a bridge. I like to explain it that it's a bridge that connects you from where you are to where you want to, the particular component that you want to speak to. So if I want to speak to SQL, for instance, from Power Apps, okay, I would need to so connectors are not just for Power Apps. It's a bridge that connects you from the particular place that you want to where you're going to. Do you understand? So for instance, if you're in Power Automate, you want to automate data, your data can reside in SharePoint list, your data can reside in Database, your data can reside in SQL. Okay, your data can reside even in Excel. That might be where your data is. And I want to automate this data. I need a connector. I need something that will connect me to Excel, connect me to SharePoint list, connect me to Database. And that is what that is, connector. Okay, so we're moving on to Power Pages. So for these apps and automation that you have registered for,
And when it's about to blow, I'll charge it back.
please mute your mic at all times. Thank you. So this apps and automation track that you have registered for, one of the classes that you're going to take, the second to the last class that you'll be taking is Power Pages, your Power Pages class. So in that Power Pages class, the idea of Power Pages is also an interface, right? So we could call it also an interface for data collection, but there's a difference. So now you ask me, Lola, Power Apps is an interface for data collection. Power Pages is an interface for data collection. What is the difference between these two? Power Apps works within the context of an organization. Okay? This is what I mean. Now, Textilers is an organization. MTN is an organization. Okay, UBA is an organization. And when you join, for instance, if you join Textilers as, one of us, I'm not saying one of the students, I mean probably one of the leads or one of the mentors, we give you an email. When you join UBA, you're given an email, right? That says maybe omolola at uba.com, omolola at, textilers.com, omolola at whatever.com. That particular organization, so the particular organization now is the organization that is attached to your email. It shows that, okay, Omolola works for UBA, Omolola works for Textilers, Omolola works for this particular company. Okay, so Power Apps now works in the context of that organization. Okay, so if I'm building an application, only the people inside that organization can interface with Power Apps. All right, are we lost? Okay, we are not. So only the people within the context of our organization can work with Power Apps. So it is business centric, right? It is organization centric. But with Power Pages, Power Pages is also for data collection. Okay. Power Pages is also for data collection, but it helps you to speak to people outside your organization. Do you understand? So for instance, when we were to use, when we were to get your data to say, oh, come register for Textilers, we did not use Power Apps, all right? Because we are speaking to different people that does not even have the Textilers, what's it called? They do not have the Textilers email. They are not in the organization, in this, our Textilers organization. So we used Forms, Microsoft Forms, and we enabled it to take data from people outside our organization, right? So we could have used Power Pages, and we'll get to that point because Power Pages is also for data collection. We'll get to the point. Why can't we use Power Pages, right? We'll get to that point. We'll talk about it here. But what I want you to understand is Power Pages is also for data collection, but the data that it collects is what is data beyond your organization. Perhaps collects data, but data within your organization. All right. Now we're going to go to, has anybody heard of Copilot before? Copilots, just Copilots. I mean, if you've ever heard of Copilot before, tell me what you know about Copilot in the chat. If you've ever heard of Copilot, so what is Copilot? What is Copilot? So I'm talking now, you will see here, you will see Copilot Studio, right? It's like, who helped me with color the other time? It's like, like I said, teal green. It's teal green. It has form of one dot of lemon, so many kind of greens together, right? So we have Copilot Studio, but here you would see another one that says, I hope you can see my cursor. So you see another one that has that kind of green. It has green, it has yellow, it has orange, it has a shade of purple. Under it, you just have Copilot. So Copilot Studio, they are all within what? They are all within Power Apps. They're all within the Power Platform. Remember, it's the Microsoft Power Platform that I'm actually explaining, and I'm telling you all the components that we have within it. So I'm going to move very, very fast now because we've talked about the major things that I want us to talk about, but I want to still explain every other one so that you have an understanding of it anyways. So Copilot, this first one, the one at the toppest layer, right? Copilot without Studio, just Copilot. It's an AI agent, right? It's just like ChatGPT. It helps you to it basically works with data also, but you're not building anything. At least the normal copilot that a lot of people know, or you just speak to it the same way you're speaking to ChatGPT. Hi, I need this. Can you help me work with this particular data? Or you ask a lot of questions and it gives you information. That's what copilot is. That's the simple definition of Copilot. It's an AI agent and it helps you to answer your questions. Basically, it answers whatever question that you want to ask it, right? So it looks for data all over the internet and all of that and some of the data that has also been imputed in it to answer your questions. Okay. Now we're going to so we've looked at, so in the Power Platform ecosystem, we've looked at Power Apps, we've looked at Power Automate, we've looked at Dataverse, we've talked about connectors, we've talked about Power Pages. Now we're going to talk about Power BI. So we said Power Apps helps us to do what? Data collection. Power Automate helps us what? Automate data, right? Power BI analyzes data. So remember I said that in the Power Platform ecosystem, we are all speaking to data, but all the components react with data separately, differently. The way they react to data is different from one another, okay? So for Power BI, it analyzes data. So I have all the data, all the people that have registered for textiles. We have several of them for this tech deep dive. Some of us registered, some of us that are here, we registered for what? For Power Apps, other people registered for several other tracks. What I can do with Power BI is I can tell a story, okay? I can use the time that we all registered. If location was on, I can get where we registered from, all right, and use charts to tell the story. I can get all the tracks that we've registered from, the time that we registered for it, the days that we registered for it, the location that we registered from, using charts, right? Pie chart, bar chart, different kinds of charts, some cards, reflective cards to show numbers. I can use all of that to analyze the data. So you just by looking at one dashboard, you'll be able to say, oh, okay, you don't need to go into the database to see all the people that have registered. Just by looking at one dashboard with the story that I've told, right, using Power BI with the help of charts, different charts, just one dashboard, you can see that, okay, we have a total of, let's say, 2,000 applicants. Then out of these 2,000 applicants, we now have what? We have 785 registered for registered for Power BI, say 200 registered for Power Apps, for instance. So the data that I've analyzed will actually tell me all of that. So Power BI is for what? Data analysis. It is used for analyzing data. So they tell a story with your data. Okay. So basically the data basically helps people to make informed decision. So I can say that, all right, since many people register for Power Apps, for instance, or based on the story that I just told, many people register for Power BI, right? We had 700 and something register for Power BI. We can now say that the resources that we want to allocate in textiles, we'll just allocate it majorly to Power BI, because many people registered for Power BI. Then it helps us with resource allocation. So the data that has been analyzed helps an organization to make informed decision. So Power BI guys are storytellers. They tell stories with data. So using data, they use it to tell a story. So remember, Power Apps is for what? Comment section, everybody. Chat, use the chat. Power Apps is for what? Power Automate is for what? Power Pages is for what? Specifically. So Power Apps is for collecting data where? Power Pages is for collecting data where? Power Automate is for what? What do we use Dataverse for? What are connectors? Okay. What do we now use Power BI for? Is the latest one that I just explained. Okay. Storytelling with the data. Awesome. Well done, everybody. Dataverse is a dedicated database. Yes, 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 yes. Analyze it. Yes. Awesome, awesome. Well done, well done. Now, I've also explained Copilot. We'll quickly look at Copilot Studios. So basically, Copilot Studio is for building agents. So we use Copilot Studio for building AI agents, and these AI agents can do several things. Now, formally, I'm losing my thoughts now. There was a name that Copilot Studio. Okay, let me just ask a question. House or collecting. Awesome, awesome. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, connector is a bridge. Yes, yes. Great. So I've forgotten that right now. There's a name that Copilot Studio was formerly called. It just skipped my head. I'm going to come back to explain that to you. Anyway, so Copilot Studio. So we are moving on. We're moving on. We're moving on now. We're moving on. So Copilot Studio is for um Copilot Studio is for building AI agents. So we use Copilot Studio to build AI agents, and these AI agents can do several things. So you can tell the AI agents to help you do whatever thing that you want to build. You can build an AI agent for what's it called? You can build an AI agent for teams, for instance, to help you with your teams and all of that. So now, this particular Copilot Studio, it's a track on its own here in Tech Sellers. We have another track that is tailored. They will teach you everything on, at least everything that they can teach you for the next 8 weeks on the Copilot Studio. That is their own. Thank you. Thank you. Copilot Studio was formerly called Power Virtual Agent. Awesome, thank you. So it wasn't long ago that it was actually turned to Copilot Studio. So when it was Power Virtual Agents, we use it to create chatbots, and that's still the same thing that we do now, but a more refined chatbots. They now call them AI agents. That's what you're building now. So when it was Power Virtual Agents, it was used to build chatbots, but now you use it for AI agents. It's still chatbots, but very refined one. So like I said, we have a dedicated track for that one. So I'm not going to go into it. So we have AI Builder. The way the name is AI Builder. You can use AI Builder with Power Automate. Is basically to add intelligent automation. Let me just say it helps you to add intelligence to your data. Okay, remember I said we are all speaking to data. So AI Builder helps you to add intelligence to your data. Okay. So it helps you to bring in some models, some pre-built models, right? Machine learning models, but they're already pre-built. You're not building machine learning anything, no. So AI Builder, it helps you to add intelligence to your data. Okay, so I can use AI Builder with Power Automate and tell it that I can do some sentiment analysis, for instance, with AI Builder. So sentiment analysis, predictions, and all of these things are AI, their intelligence that AI actually brings to your data, and you can use AI Builder for that. So the way AI Builder interacts with your data is what? It adds intelligence to your data. AI Builder adds intelligence to your data. Then I'm going to now jump to the second to the last one that we'll be talking about. It's in like this is not purple. This is um, this is not maroon either, and it's not really pink. It's like in the family of all of that. So power effects majorly. Now, is it lilac we're going to call it? Magenta-ish. Something like that. Burnt onion. Peach. Awesome. Forget about the color, guys. Power effects. I love that. We are all here, we are like I said, we are gisting. I like all of this. It's very interesting. So Power FX, right, you're going to see Power FX in play today. So Power FX is used within Power Apps. Okay, so Microsoft has been doing a lot of changes where they're probably trying to, introduce. Please mute your mics. Please ensure your mics are muted. So they're trying to, introduce Power FX into Power Automate and all of that, but let's not focus on that. What does what does Power FX do? Power FX is how do I explain Power FX? So Power FX is like a simplified coding language. Yes, it's a coding language for Power Apps. So, like I said, Power Apps or the Power Platform is not a there are some things you do that you don't necessarily need to write the code, but when you're building serious application, and that's what we do here in Tech Science, we show you how to build, serious applications. Not like there's any application that is not serious anyways, but you get what I mean. So for Power FX, you use Power FX for um it's a language, right, that you use to manipulate the controls in Power Apps. Okay, so if you've ever used Excel before, when you want to do some particular formatting in Excel, you write some simple formulas inside of Excel. That's what Power FX looks like. And for instance, in Power BI, there's a different name they call theirs. All right. But in especially Power Apps, when you're speaking to Power Apps, you use Power FX and you're going to, so there are formulas, simplified language. It is the language of Canvas app. There are some things that you do now also in model-driven applications that is still inside of Power Apps that you actually use Power FX for, actually. So, but right from the inception of Canvas app, we use Power FX, right? Power FX is yeah, so thank you. So in Power BI, it's called DAX expressions, right? Some of my friends will say, so can you write DAX? Can you write DAX, right? So it's an expression, but in Power Apps, we call it Power FX. It's the simplified, I call it a simplified language because for instance, if there are people here that can write Python, in fact, Python is even much simpler. There are people here that can write Java, not JavaScript, Java. People will tell you that Java is much more, the syntaxes and all of that is much more difficult. But you see, in Power FX, it's very simple. Like it's in English, pure English, but it's very simple. For instance, if you want to tell a button to move to the next page, you just write navigate. And you just put in the particular page you want it to go to. So it's very simple. You are going to see all of that in action, but there are still more things that we want to talk about, right? Oh, so before we go, we're going to talk about briefly manage environment. So for this managed environment, you see it's in green, right? And how I like to explain it is that you can do a lot of managed environments, especially when you're using the dedicated database, when you're using Dataverse, right? Now, generally, when you talk about managed environments, you're talking about, you can see some of the explanation there. You're talking about security, basically, foundational identity, security management, compliance of the Microsoft Cloud. So if you're using Dataverse to build, right, there are so many privileges, security privileges that you can actually enable within your Dataverse, right? You don't want people to just use your environment anyhow, right? So there's a job role that is called some people call it perhaps governance, right? So you're not necessarily building. Don't worry, we'll get into PowerFX as you actually see PowerFX live in action. So if we're able to quickly round this my talking session up, we'll be able to build. Okay, and we'll see PowerFX in action. So don't worry about that, all right? I was trying to explain managed environments. So there are some rights and privileges that you can enforce, okay, when you use Dataverse, right? So ensure that your data is not maybe for instance, now we'll say we can do Mm, some of those things, yeah, we can use logic for some of the we can use pi fx. Let me call it logic so that I won't make a mistake while or I will not confuse you basically. So there's some logic that you can actually do with power fx, but when we're talking about managed environment, right, like I said, there's a job role that is called power apps governance. So power apps governance, you are or governance generally, right, not just power apps governance, so you are managing the whole environment, okay, for the Power Platform. So there's something we call environments in Power Platform. So you're managing the whole of the environment for Power Platforms. You are so your work is not, so you don't use Power Effects to build, you don't really work, you don't necessarily build interfaces with Canvas app. You don't necessarily automate data with Power Automate. What you're working with is people, all the people that will be using Canvas apps or model-driven application, Power Automate, they'll be using all these components within the Power Platform ecosystem. How are they using it? What do you want them to have access to? What do you want them not to have access to? All right. What are the environment-wide security that you want to put in place? That's what we call, that's where managed environment comes from. So that particular job role, there are some people that is what they do, is governance, right? They deal with the security and all of that. Okay, so let's quickly move forward now. So these are some of the real world use cases of apps and automation. Okay, remember that this track is what? Apps and automation. So that's where that's what we'll really be talking about. Okay, so apps and automation, so these are just some of it. There are several. So we have attendance app. That's what we're going to be building for this track and this class and my next class. We'll be talking about how we can build attendance app. But over time, there's so many real world use cases that we have seen Power Apps being used for. Leave requests and approvals. There's some that I don't have here, like document management. So some people would use Power Apps. They will build a use case scenario around document management. Okay, and they would use a lot of approvals. Okay, so I have this document, for instance, I want to send it to my manager. Once my manager works on the document, I want to automate it, using automation. I want to send it to another person. So they use a lot of document management, how do I put it? More like a document management platform, then they embed Power Automate with it, right? That's just one of the use cases. For instance, for attendance app now, what I have here, I say employees. So what, for an attendance app, what do you think we're going to have in an attendance app? So in the chat session now, what do you think? Because we're going to build an attendance app today, and all of us, you and I, we will be saying the things that we'll actually talk about the things we want to see in the attendance app. So some of the things that that you can see in an attendance app is helps employees to mark their daily presence, and they can do that over mobile, they can do that over web. All right. The data can be saved to SharePoint, it can be saved to Dataverse. And yeah, so Omotayo and I think somebody else also wrote something. So when you're not speaking, when you're speaking to the data that is being saved to SharePoint or Dataverse, that's where you talk about time in, time out, the name of the person, what time are they registering, and the time, and all of those kind of things. Then we also want to have an interface where managers can see the attendance that have been logged in. All right. And you can even now add approvals to say that, for instance, we're going to send your attendance now. And some people will try, they did not attend the class, okay? But they will try to, what's it called? Fill the attendance. They'll try to fill the attendance. So there are some logics that are already put in place. You don't need to worry. You just fill the attendance. Those that did not attend the class, it's definitely not going to where you ought to go to, right? So we put in some logics that will filter, will separate the ships from the ships. I don't want to use another word. Do you get? So we'll have a way to separate it. But at times when you're building some attendance application, you can add approvals. It means that when you fill the data, Power Automate will help us carry the data to your manager or to whoever we want to approve to say, should this data be approved? All right. Now, for people that probably you're currently working in any kind of organization, whether you're working in a school, but you're working in an organization and you have somebody that you're reporting to, you can always create a system, right? Using Power Apps for data collection, and you use Power Automate for automating the data. Okay, so what I mean is you can name it, for instance, you can name it facility management solution. Okay, what does it do? You have a Power Apps that would take in your data, and you have a Power Automate that will send this, I don't know, for instance, maybe you're requesting for, okay, I called it facility management solution, yes. So let's say that maybe your roof is leaking. Okay, you use Power Automate to take the data that you just submitted to the person that needs to approve it. All right, to say, oh, look at my data is leaking, instead of you to maybe write an email or call somebody. If there's an application for that, it's already within this organization, the organization that you're working for. So Power Apps can definitely do that. Then Power Automate will just move your data to whosoever needs to approve it. So they approve it to say, okay, and when you're putting in the data now, it depends on how you want to design your application. You can decide to design your application in such a way that you put in a place where people will put in image. Okay, so my roof is leaking. I want to show evidence that my roof is leaking. This is wrong with this particular facility. I want to show an evidence. So you can put in a place where they will add image. So when they add image to it, then you would have already integrated your Power Automate. So your Power Automate will just carry this data and go and drop it on the desk of the person that should work on it. Then the person can also maybe get another, maybe they can open that data, right, that you just submitted. And remember I said that for Power Apps, we can, impute data. We can also edit data. We can add to a data that we've already submitted. So the person that Power Automate has carried this particular data to their table can look at it and say, all right, we would come and fix it by 2 o'clock. And they click send. They don't need to, Power Automate to just carry that data again and send it to the person that it needs to go to. But it depends on the logic that you have actually told Power Automate to use. You can tell Power Automate that whenever this has been submitted, I want you to take it to the person that submitted it. And your Power Apps and Power Automate will just work together in sync, and which is what you're going to be learning. They will just work together in sync, and they will move the data from, so they collect the data, allow people to edit the data, use Power Automate to move the data from wherever the data is to where it needs to get to. So that way you're getting rid of paperwork, you're getting rid of a lot of lost data, because at times you call somebody and they say, no, you didn't call me, because there's no evidence, right? But if it is done on a particular system, there's evidence because your data was captured. All right, so you can go back and bring that particular record to say, I did send you this at so time. Okay, so when you use Power Apps and Power Automate, you are getting rid of paperwork, you are automating the process of that particular company, and that's what we use Power Apps and Power Automate to do. And these are some of the real world use cases. Asset tracking, you can decide to track an asset. A lot of organizations, they have laptops that they are giving out, they have so many things that they are giving out, and we want to track it. We want to track assets that the what's it called, that the organization is acquiring per year. We want to track how many assets have been distributed. We want to track the ones that have spoiled. You can use Power Apps and Power Automate for all of that. Loan management. I have built a loan management for a bank before that helps them to manage the loans that they actually give out and all of that. All right. It simplifies all the paperwork and all of that and all of that and all of that. So I'm trying to be very fast. So these are just some of the real world use cases. Okay. So as I'm explaining this, I want you to start thinking about applications that you think you can build. What are the applications that you think a bank will need? What are the applications that you think an energy company would need? I've built several applications for energy industries, right? And some of those applications are not even here. Okay, so what do you think? What kind of applications do you think an energy industry will need? What kind of applications do you think a communication organization will need? What kind of application do you think a school will need? If you're maybe in a school, what kind of applications do you think a school will need? Now, when you now know some of those applications, we can now, go down into, do we use Canvas app for this application? Do we use model driven for this application? Okay, so it depends on the kind of application. It depends on the kind of data that can enter into it depends on the kind of data, right? That sorry, the amount of data that we are collecting. I expected somebody to already drop a question like, since we can use different kinds of databases, what is the difference between Dataverse and SharePoint list? So I said today we're going to be using SharePoint list, right? So somebody should have asked me what is the difference between Dataverse, which is the dedicated database, and SharePoint list. But because I'm the one that asked, I'm not going to answer it, so you have to answer. You have to answer it. So you might already be thinking, so why are we using Power Platform? Why not just use a standard coding, what's it called? Why not just use JavaScript and build a front-end application or maybe a website and all of that, and just work with it, or even build an application, not even a website now. Why not just build an application and use maybe Python, JavaScript, and all of that to just work on it. Why? Why Power Platform? So number one is it is a local development. So like I said, it is not no code. You will code, but it is low code. It means that it simplifies time. I drag and drop the things I can drag and drop, and I code all the controls that I've dragged, right? So, and another thing with Power Platform is it is business centric, right? We're not just building applications for anybody that wants to use an application. We are building applications for companies. So if you have this skill, right, and you are employed, you're basically working for a particular company, right? Not to just build applications for anybody. So you can be employed by a consulting firm. So if you're employed by a consulting firm, what you'll be doing is you'll be building applications for other businesses. If you're employed by a particular business, maybe if I'm employed by MTN, for instance, you'll be building applications just for MTN. If you're employed by a consulting firm, you'll be able to build applications for customers, for MTN and the likes. They will be the customers of this particular consulting firm. If you are working for an energy company, particular energy company, as a maybe Power Platform developer or as a Power Platform consultant, you will be building applications, just for them. You'll be helping them to automate their processes. That's basically it. So you build an interface, you connect it with Power Apps. You build an interface with Power Apps and you connect it with Power Automate, and makes everybody's life easier. So now there are IT pros, people that understand much more than just dragging and dropping, and they also use Power Platform. So they try to break our system. So basically, they extend it, and they use it for several other things. So why Power Platform? Local development, rapid development is much faster. Seamless integration with Microsoft 365. So after now, we're going to talk about licenses, okay, which is very important. If you're already checking the differences between Dataverse and if you're getting tired, please let me know. Am I boring? Am I boring? Am I boring you out? Are you tired? I'm not boring. It's nice. It's nice to hear that I'm not boring. It's nice to hear. Although if you do say that I'm boring, I'll just end the class anyways. Anyways, all right. So let's just go on. So seamless integration with Microsoft 365 is one of the things that you can do with Power Platform, right? So now um it's not even probably, you should have heard of Microsoft Word. Okay, nice. I like some of the comments that you're dropping. I'm excited. So you should have heard of Microsoft Word. Okay, you should have heard of Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint. All of these things, they are in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. Okay, so you should have heard of all of these things, and they are inside the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So Power Platform, all the components that we just talked about, Power Apps, Power Automate, they are also inside of this Microsoft 365 ecosystem. It's a platform, but it's there. Okay, so because it's there, it's easier for you to just integrate. For instance, the loan management application I said I built for a bank, we integrated Excel, we integrated Word documents, right? Because there are some we dealt with a lot of documents, so we took some of those documents right from so we used Power Automate. Well, basically we worked on it, right? But after we worked on it, Power Automate just kept on speaking to Word, kept on speaking to Excel, using the interface, using Power Apps, right? So Power Platform, you can easily integrate with a lot of the Office 365 ecosystem. You can easily send somebody a message, okay, from Power Automate to Outlook, for instance, from Power Automate to, you can automate the process and just ensure that emails are coming in. You've used Power Automate to do that. They will continue receiving emails, but you're not the one sending it, okay? You're not the one actively sending it. You've done it ages ago. So one of the reasons we use Power Platform is you can easily integrate with the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, right? Using connectors. Remember, we talked about connectors, using connectors, and you don't need to build it. Now, there are some other applications that you need to speak to. We call them logic apps. No. Say logic apps now. I'm going to remember before the end of the class. So we can use Power Apps, Power Automate to still speak to some of these data, some of these components. However, because some of those components that we want to speak to, we don't have APIs for them. APIs now are uh, basically API means application programming interface. Okay, so Power Apps, or let me say Microsoft, has already created some connectors, some connections for us. Connections, right? SharePoint list, Word document, Word, Microsoft Word, Outlook, and that's why we can easily speak to Microsoft Word, Outlook. We can easily speak to SharePoint because Microsoft already created that connection, right? All you just need to do is look for that particular connector and you automate the process. Okay, so what happens to components where we don't have connectors for them? Microsoft has not created connectors for them. What do we do? If you have the knowledge of core coding, right? And this is why as you grow later on, you decide to pick a particular language, say Python, say JavaScript, you can build an API and Power Automate can consume your API. Okay, so Power Automate, Power Apps, you can build a custom connector. So yeah, we're going to use SharePoint. We're going to use SharePoint. So let me leave custom connector for now. I think some of the assignments that I'm going to give us, we'll talk about custom connectors and all of that. So we've looked at White Power Platform, low-code development, rapid development, seamless integration with Microsoft 365. It is cost-effective because some of the scenarios you want to automate, the licenses you need are already in the Microsoft 365 licenses. You see, organizations that have Word already, that have PowerPoint already, they have gotten something called Microsoft 365 license. So there's a particular license that you will get. It's called E5 license. When you have E5 license, you already have access to use Power Apps and Power Automate. So some organizations so for some people that are already in an organization, if you're in a school, if you're in, some organizations that they already have M365 license, and because they have M365 license, you can already use Power Apps and Power Automate for them. Okay, so it's cost effective that way. All right. However, there are some particular things that you will need to do. I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me the difference between SharePoint list and Dataverse. So I don't want to say it. And I'm almost saying it, but I'm going to try to control myself. I'm not going to say it. So there's some processes that you automate and you need a premium license because of the components that you are using. I'm going to stop there because I want somebody to tell me the difference between SharePoint list and database because I was the one that asked. You didn't ask me. So any question I get to ask you, you'll be the one to look for the answer for me. Okay. So just ask me all your questions. So secure and governed. That's part of the reason why we use Power Platform. And that's why we talked about, I explained managed environment. So this is where, you do all your security and all of that. We have admin centers for Power Platform where you do all your security, compliance, and all of that. So let's quickly move on. We are running low on time. So this is some of the Power Platform licensing. Let me say some of the Power Platform licenses anyways. So M365 included license. So once you have, okay, I think I've already, so this slide already explains what the question I asked you anyways. So M365 included licenses. So people that already have M365 in their organization, yeah, SharePoint is the document management system. Okay. Anyways, people that have M365 included in their licenses, so some of the things that you have with that is you have SharePoint, you have OneDrive, you have Excel. All right. Premium license, you have Dataverse. So if a company says, I want you to use Dataverse for me, I don't want you to use SharePoint, because yes, thank you. Somebody just dropped in the chat section now that for Dataverse, you need, so Dataverse allows you to deal with larger data than SharePoint lists. SharePoint list is not a database. Do you understand? It allows you to store data also, but there's a limit to the data that you can store. But you see, Dataverse is like I said, it's a dedicated database for is a dedicated database for Power Platform, and as such, you have a robust database. You have security within that database. Okay, so for you to use Dataverse, you need a premium license. You need no. So somebody is asking me now, would so I'm reacting to some of the chats that I can see. So somebody is asking, would E5 license would it suffice for Dataverse? No, you need beyond E5 license for Dataverse. All right, you need a premium license for Dataverse. So when we say M365 included licenses, E5 is one of the M365 license. There's also E3. I'm not sure if because Microsoft is always changing things. I'm not sure if E3 has been removed, but last I checked, E5 is the standard. When you have E5, you have a lot of things compared to when you have E3, but depending on what the organization can afford. Anyways, so when you have E5, you have SharePoint, you have OneDrive, you have Excel. So you can use Power Automate and Power Apps with all of these things that they already have. You don't need them to buy any other thing, especially if the data will not be too large. Okay. Now, when you're talking about premium licenses that they're saying, oh, I want to use Dataverse, they need a premium license. So they need more money to buy this license, right? So they will just buy it like an add-on to the licenses that they already have. So you'll be able to use, you'll be able to use Dataverse for them, okay? Now, for learning, you can actually create a developer plan for free learning anyways, but there's some caveats to it, right? And for your learning, we'll definitely provide you the the accounts that you'll be using to learn. So Textiles will provide you the accounts you'll be using to learn for a particular duration. It's not forever, right? For a particular duration. So now that once you get your account, please ensure that you use it, do all your assignments because it's for a duration. After a while, when we're done with PAPS training, when we're done with Textiles training, you can still use this account for a period of time, then it will be taken away. Okay. So I'm going to give you that as an assignment. What are the limitations of developer plan? That's going to be your assignments. I want you to do more research on Power Platform licenses, see what is available, what are the things you can do for a company that already has M365. What are the applications that you think would need premium licenses, right? By the third class, you would actually, some of the trainer will tell you more on this. by our next class, it's possible that I tell you more on this also, but because of our time, I know that our next class will be building a lot. We're going to start building today also, but our next class would enter straight into building. Yes, so attendance application, let us build. So we've gotten to the point where we are going to build now. Before we start building, let me stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing now. I want us to first talk about attendance application. Okay, so if you're in an organization, when you join an organization and you want to build applications and all of that with the Microsoft Power Platform, most times you work with not just yourself, you work with BAs, business analysts. So we're going to do some of the work of a business analyst now today. And we can even use ChatGPT to actually help us. So I'm going to share my screen now. You understand what I mean by doing the work of a BA. Okay, so we're going to type it together. Just watch what we're doing. We want to build an attendance application, right? Just don't go ahead and just start building attendance app. First, we have to determine. So we have to like create a user story, more like a use case, right? For this attendance application, what would it be able to do? Because the attendance application for this organization will be different from attendance application for another organization. But for this training purpose, what do we want our attendance app to do? What do we want our attendance app to do? Okay, so we need, so one of the things we need now is, so what we want to do now is called requirements gathering. When you're working in an organization, right, and a company comes to you, let's say an energy company comes to you to say, build us a facility management app, build us equipment management application. You do what we call requirement gathering. What do you do during requirement gathering is what we want to do now. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to let you understand how you actually start building. I just want to show you how to build. There are processes to it. Okay, so requirement gathering says that you need to ask them, so what are the things you want to be able to do? So I'm going to open up the chat window now. Rukayat, you're going to help me here. So what I want us to do is this attendance application that we are building. So if you've not dropped a message since morning, we need you now, okay? This attendance application that we want to start building, this is where the work starts. What are the things we want to see in our attendance application? I'm talking about the interface now. So I'm going to group it down to say Power Apps. Power Apps, all right? So for Power Apps, right, you would need, how will I put it? You would definitely need, remember that what did we say? How did we say Power Apps interact with data? Who still remembers? How did we say Power Apps interact with data? Mm. Okay, please zoom out. Oh yeah, I'm using a very big screen. Da, 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 da. Give me is how do you zoom here again?
There is a vertical line at the below
Yeah,
right corner.
yes,
Have you
I
seen it?
found it. Yeah, I found it. Thank you so much. Is that required?
Yeah, this is required.
Thank you. So
You're
is it
welcome.
more visible now? Please tell me it's more visible. Are we good? Yes, yes. Okay, better. All right. So what we want to do now is we said Power Apps does what? Collects data. So can somebody tell me? So in Power Apps, we have controls, okay, but I want to believe that we should be able to know this, even though we've not opened Power Apps to show us. But what do you think would use for collection of data? Perfect, perfect. Somebody said forms. Yes. So there's a control within Power Apps. Yeah, so there's a control within Power Apps that is called forms. Okay, so one of the things that you want to first look at is we need to build an attendance application. Okay, so there will be a forms on Power Apps that would use to build this attendance application. Now, we need to know what are the fields that will be on this form. Come on, can you tell me the fields that you think will be on the form? Remember that the attendance app, no, not the attendance app, the form that you filled to join tech sellers, there were some fields there. So now you want to build an attendance app. What do you think? What are the fields that you think we're going to have in the on the form? The fields, the name of the fields, just the name. So somebody's hold on. So I said name, time joined, courses joined. Thank you. So we're going to just get their full name. So this is what I'm going to do. So now, remember that we said Power Apps is for collection of data. So for this data collection, let me just say data collection. So for the data collection, yeah. So for the data collection now, these are some of the fields that we want to see. We said name, full name. Full name. Da-da-da. Okay, what's the next one? So somebody said department if it's an organization, correct? But now we are tailoring this attendance app for us here, So we don't need track. Thank you. Somebody said track. So I want to know the track that you're feeling. Hold on, Rukayat, have you sent the attendance form out? Hi, Rukayat, have you sent the attendance form out? Oh, so I see the person that said track, you've checked the form, right? You've seen what is on the form, so you're giving me back what is on the form. Okay, there are some of those things that we're not going to use, and there are some of those things that we need more than some of those things. Okay, so we have full name, we have track. What else? On this attendance app, we have full name, we have track. What else do you think we should have? So I know some people have said some things. Timestamp, to collect the exact time. Okay, we can have timestamp, but if we have timestamp, are we going to okay, you might not know that, but let's just go on. So timestamp. What else? What else? What else? It's fine if you've checked the attendance app. Come on, come on. What else? What else? What else? Let's be fast now. Time in, time out. Time in, time out. Let's just leave it as timestamp for now. Time in, rating. You have checked that form. Feedback. You have a question. Drop your question, please. Feedback. Email address. Thank you. Email address. Da-da-da. Gosh, do I know how to type? I don't know how to type again. Okay. Yes, exactly. Please, what is rating? What is rating? I know you can say rating on the form, but what are you rating? Location. No. So attendance, if it's going to be for a company, right? And they are not working remotely. So these are some of the things you want to consider. If they are working remotely, you don't necessarily need their location, right? You're not trying to check on anybody. But if they are not, if they are not working remotely, you want to ensure that they are clocking in the organization. So you want to know that they are clocking in. So somebody is not on their way and they are clocking in, right? You want them to be on your facility. You want them to be in the office for them to clock in, so you can get location to compare. Where are they clocking in from? But for this one, I mean, I'm not in Nigeria, for instance. Some people are in Lagos, some people are in Ireland, some people are in Lagos, some people even within Nigeria, some people are in so many places. So it's a remote class. I don't want to necessarily know where you are clocking your attendance from. Just clock attendance. Signature, no, not necessary for this one. So we have full name, we have track, we have timestamp, we have rating, we have feedback. What is rating? Oh, you've not answered me. Please, what is rating? What is rating? Goal. Do I want to be collecting goal for each of the every time they submit attendance? So for this class now, you tell me your goal. The next class, you still tell me your goal. Then the next class, you still tell me your goal. No, I'll be tired of seeing your goals. Rating the tutor's performance. So you want to rate my performance? Interesting. Interesting. That was a go choke. Of course, it will be too much. All right. So rating, yes. So you can say rate the trainer, right? Or trainer's rating. Better. Trainer rating. So please don't share this attendance. So, Ruka just dropped the attendance. Please do not share this attendance outside. You don't need to don't put the attendance on the WhatsApp group. Just leave it here. So if you don't feel the attendance here, that's it. Just leave the attendance here. Don't share the attendance. Topic of discussion. Topic. Am I really so honestly, yeah? Am I really going to go through the topic of discussion each class? But you can have it. It's a good one. Topic of discussion. But anyways, for this one, you can add it to yours when you're building. But for me, I don't need it because I'm not necessarily going to be going over the topic of discussion. Actually, I might not even go over most of it. Why? Because Power Automate will do it for me. Power Automate would know if you were in class. Will it know? We'll find out. Power Automate would do the logic for me. It would help me with the everything I wanted to do for me. So I might not necessarily be interested in checking the topic. Mobile phone number. Depending on what you're trying to do, but for this attendance, honestly, I don't need the mobile number. Dates. Perfect. Although somebody already said timestamp anyways, but let's still add dates. Okay. Yeah, so now we are done. So this is for Power Apps, all right? And now, so for this one, attendance app, one of the things that I would want you to put here would be components. Components. So component is they've asked you to build an attendance app. What are the things we need for the attendance? So from all the cha I've been doing since morning, right? I want you to tell me the components you think we will be needing to build an attendance app. So perhaps is one of the components, okay? So what are the components you think we'll be needing to build this attendance app? So I've given us Power Apps. What's the next one? Power Automate, thank you. I don't know if I mentioned, but you see, we're not teaching Power BI in this class. There's a track for that. It is called Data Analysis with Power BI. So they analyze our data. So we need Power Apps, we need Power Automate. What else? SharePoint list. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. SharePoint list. So these are the major components that we're going to use SharePoint list. So these are the three we use. Are we going to use connector? I'm asking a question. Are we going to use connector for this particular attendance app? I'm asking yes or no, everybody. Are we going to use connector for this particular attendance app? SharePoint. Join us. Type again. Somebody said depending on the database you want to link it with. Are we going to use a connector? Yes, yes, no, 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 ma, no. It is within. Who said it is within? Kristen, please unmute your mic. I want to talk to you. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, ma.
Yes, why did you say it is within?
So, the reason why I said this within because it is just an attendance for this class, and we are all the persons submitting the attendance. So it's just within us. We don't need to share it to another person. It's just within this class. I don't know if
Okay.
it makes sense though.
Yes. Yes, I get you, but I was thinking you wanted to say something else, but you're correct anyways. So back to my question, right? Are we going to use connector for this class? Do you think we're going to use connector? So like I said, we're using Power Apps, Power Automation Point List. I explained connector. Are we going to use connector? I'm waiting. No, you say I'm laughing. I'm waiting for you. Why not what? I said, are we going to use connector? You say, why not? Why not no? Or like why would we use it or why not we use it? I believe the attendance manager should be. If you are using SharePoint, then I think yes. No, because you're not using Dataverse. The answer is within the question. No, because it's an already existing API. There's no bid needed. Files is within the organization. Yes, because only. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I love. So don't mind me that I'm laughing, right? Don't mind me. Let me say, after this whole 6 weeks, and you're teaching another person, this is how you're going to be laughing too, because at that time you would have been a pro. So are we going to use now? Let me change this to major components. So these are the major components I will be using. We'll be using Power Apps, we'll be using Power Automate, we'll be using SharePoint. Are we going to use connectors? Yes. And the reason I asked Kristen to unmute is connectors are within, okay? Within Power Apps, within Power Automate. Connectors are within these two. And I did not mention it. So when I saw it is within, I was like, who is Christian? Anyways, so connectors are within Power Apps and Power Automate, but you need them. If I'm going to speak to SharePoint, I need connector. All right, I would definitely use connector, but I'm not going to write it here because they're within Power Apps and Power Automate anyways. Do you understand? So now, enough about cho. I'm going to just take this away. So we have our major components. We have our major component, which is Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint list. The fields. So these are the fields that we need. Let's just make it 14. And so these are the fields that we need. You can see them. We need full name, we need track, we need dates, and all of that. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing again. And I am going to go into my SharePoint. So when you know your fields, I know that this is the what's it called? I know that this is the application I want to build. I know that these are the fields that I want to use for my data collection, at least, initially. The next thing is the database of choice, the database of choice, the database of, please, can you please tell me the need of SharePoint? The need of SharePoint on this? Yes. So we are using SharePoint list. I already told us that Power Apps is for what? Data collection. You cannot collect your data in the air. The forms that you filled, Microsoft used Excel to store the data, okay? So now we will use SharePoint list to collect our data. So the first thing you're going to do now is to go on SharePoint list, and you would now put in all these fields on SharePoint list. Then we will open up Power Apps. So we're going to round up the class, but not without building something. So what we're going to do now is we'll build our SharePoint list. I'll show you how to build a SharePoint list live. And once we're done building our SharePoint list, we'll enter into Power Apps. We'll create that particular app. We'll name our app. Then we'll use a connector to connect Power Apps to SharePoint. That's what we're going to do. Rukaya, tell me.
Thank you, ma'am. I was just wondering, since we are using form to collect data, and automatically the form, we are able to access the data that we collect using an Excel sheet. So why are we not pulling Excel into our Power Apps? Why are we using SharePoint instead? Thank you.
You're brilliant. So now, the forms that we're going to use is not Microsoft Forms. The forms we'll be using is the forms inside of Power Apps. So there's you know what? Let's stop talking. Let's just get right into it. But what I want to show us now is SharePoint, okay? So the forms that we use is in, what's it called? Is in Power Apps. And you cannot collect, so forms is one of the controls that we use for data collection within Power Apps. And for you to use Power Apps at all, you need a database. I don't know if I'm able to answer your question, Rukayat. So it is when we use Microsoft Forms, right, that Microsoft has already put Excel at the back of Microsoft Forms, just like the one you used to say, I want to register for textilers, all right? But when you're building with Power Apps, you're using Power Apps form. Power Apps itself needs to be connected to a database. Excel is not a form. Do you understand? Microsoft Forms, Microsoft has put Excel below forms, so that, because anytime you see anybody collecting any kind of data, there's a place that data is storing. Do you understand? Yes. So Excel is not a form, but when you're using when you're using Microsoft Form, so what you want to do now is you want to create your forms with Power Apps, and you will connect it to your own database, SharePoint list. But Microsoft, what they did was they have a form, all right, and the semi database that they put below that form to collect that data is Microsoft Excel. Do you understand? So we cannot use Excel. Can the data be collected into Power Apps using a unique ID? We're going to see that. So one sec. So I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a sec. Thank you. But it's not a database itself. Is that why? Thank you. That is why. Morning glory. That is why. That is why. Excel is a spreadsheet for form data collection, but it is not, Excel is not a database itself, right? So that is why we cannot use Excel. You need a database, all right? So I love all your questions, but I want you to also do, after this class, do some research. What are databases? What are, just any question you have in here, just type it on Google. So let me share my screen now. So we are going to SharePoint now. We're going to SharePoint. So when you are giving, is SharePoint a database? SharePoint is not, no. So SharePoint is not a database. SharePoint is a data management system. Okay. It's not a database, it's a data management system, but we have something called, so this is my SharePoint now. It's for managing documents. It's for managing documents. See, you put a lot of things. You can see my screen, yes, everybody. So this is basically my SharePoint, all right? So you see SharePoint, you have documents, you have pages, you have so many things here on SharePoint. But if you come here to new, you see lists. You select it. You give your list a name. All right. Yes, so SharePoint has team sites, it has libraries, it has, I'm not actually going into all of that. What I just need to explain is in SharePoint, we have something called list. So in fact, let me just open this. So this is my SharePoint. This is one of my sites. All right. If I come here, these are my sites. Okay, so it says my sites. These are some of the sites that I have here. All right. So out of those sites, I'm using one of my sites called Omolola. All right. I'm already there. I can just go there from here. So that is the site that I'm using. All right. So inside of my site, I have lists. I have list form. I have document library. I have page. I have new posts, new links, apps. Because you can actually create intranets, SharePoint intranets. There's something called SharePoint intranet. It's like a website. Do you understand? It's like a website, intranet. It's like a website for an organization where maybe they can do like newsletter, right? Like portals, like things like that for a particular organization. They have newsletter, yeah, intranet portal. So that's what it is, right? That's one of the things you can do with SharePoint. One of the things, but that's not where we are going. Do you understand? So now from SharePoint, we want to borrow list, we want to use list as a database. So I'm going to select list from new. I selected list. I noticed that since these things have been dragging somehow today, I don't know why that is. Okay, so now there are so many things I can do. I can import my list from, let me see. I can import my list from Excel, from a CSV, or from an existing list. But you see, it says, how would you like to start? I want to create a list. Okay, so it's possible for me to just come here now and create my list from my Excel. So another thing I'm going to do is, you can come to your list, right? You can come to your list. Let me just show you one of the lists that I have already. Show you one of the lists I have already. The reason I want to do this is how you create your list. Let me see. This is quite slow. This is quite slow. It's quite slow, quite slow, quite slow, quite slow. We don't have that time. Okay, let's go back here. I don't know why it's dragging today, but let me close some of the tabs that I have. So it's really dragging this morning. Okay, so I want to quickly show you how to create a list. So you come here, you do new list. But that's not what I would be using. I'll show you what I want to do, what I'll be using. But for you, this is what you should do. You come here, you create a new list. And so let's wait for it to do all of this. My speed is fine. I don't know why this is. Okay. So you come here, you select list, then you type in the name of the list that you want to create. So you can say, let me just say, I don't want, so I'm going to uncheck this because I don't want it to show in navigation. By showing in navigation, it means it will come and stay here, but I don't want it to do that. So I'll just give it a name. I can just say trial attendance. I'm saying trial because I'm going to delete this after and you'll see why. But for you, you will just name it, say attendance list, right? Attendance list, and you'll create it. Yes, so when you create it, it looks like this. Okay, so these are the columns and you have rows. Okay, so when you create your list, it comes with title by default. Yeah, it comes with title. So apologies, this class is going to be for 2 hours, not 1 hour 30 minutes. So we're going to end by we're going to end in another 14 minutes. So let's try to be fast. So what we are going to do now is, let me see. So we're going to add columns to this. So there's something called data types. So when you're creating a column, if I say add column, right? These are data types. So it's saying, what kind of column do you want to create? So your data type depends on the, it depends on the data that you want to store. Do you understand? So for instance, remember that on our form, on our word that we just created, the form that we want to create, we said we want name there. So name is going to be of type what? All right. What kind of text do you think name would be? Right. So you can say text. All right. It's possible for you to choose text. But for the context of this, right? For instance, let me put it like this. Data type determine the what's it called now? Data type determine the kind of information that will sit in this particular column. So if the information is going to be text, like your name, right, you just choose text. If you want them to select a particular choice, for instance, things like track, you want them to select a particular choice, you will choose choice, okay? And I will show us that. So for this one, let's just say we choose, what can we choose? Let's just say we choose text. Nobody's, when I say what can we choose, you're not answering me. You have left me alone. Okay. So you're going to give the name of the particular column, all right? You're going to give the name of a particular column. So we have full name. So when, another thing I want you to take note is, when you're giving the name of your columns on in your list is too faint. How about now? You're good? So I write in
Better.
Pascal. Yeah, I write in Pascal. Pascal basically means, see, I did not put space, right? But you see that the first letter of what I want to do, full, is capital, and this one is also capital. So this is how I write full name, no space. So avoid some errors that you can have in Power Apps, all right? Or some silly mistakes that can come on. So this is how I write it, full name, and it's a single line of text, okay? Single line of text, because aside single line of text, I can choose multiple line of text, but there's no need because I'm not asking them to write address. It's just name. Address cannot be as, sorry, name cannot be as long, even if you have 10 names. Do you understand? So you have single line of text. So you see, for single line of text, the maximum number of character that can be there is 255. That's what we have. You can increase it if you want to increase it, but I'm fine with it because no matter how long your name is, should not be more than 255. If that happens, then we'll come and edit it. Do you understand? So what we are doing now is you're going to select full name, type is single line of text, You don't need any of these things. I'm just showing you so that you know what is there and you can save it. Okay, so now you have your column full name. So you do add column again. Let me try to split my screen and bring in Word. It's not on this tab. Okay, that's fine. I wanted us to have our words side by side, but I'll just drag it here so that I will be saying it, but you would not be saying it anyways. So remember, on our fields, we have full name. We said we wanted track also to appear in the form, right? I'm going to try to be as fast as possible now. Track. So track is of data type choice, right? You can see it here. The data type is choice. Because I don't want people to come here and be typing power apps. Some people will type power apps with capital letter. Some people will say power app and not put S there. And when you're filtering or when you're doing some basic analysis within power apps, you will run into error. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to just say, I'm going to put the choices that I want you to have here. So for track, I'll just put Power Apps, or let's just say apps and automation. Apps and automation. Our second choice, I'm just going to put 3 tracks, but you, when you're doing yours, please put all the tracks, right? I'll say data analysis with Power BI. So for this word, I'm not writing in Pascal. I'm writing it normally. Data analysis with Power BI. Okay. Yeah. So I have apps and automation, data analysis with Power BI, and let's just put one other one. What other track do we
Copilot
have
Studio.
again?
Joe,
Thank you. Copilot, let's just say Copilot Studio Essentials. All right. So we're going to save this. So now there are so many other things that you can do here. You can say default value, but it means that anytime somebody fills a form, you want to put a particular default value, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just save it. So again, what have I done? I created full name. For my full name, the data type is single line of text. For my track, the data type is choice. So the next one, I'm going to add date to this. I'll add date and time. Let me see. Yeah. So I want to have dates. Okay. So for the fields, I want to have dates. But when you come to add column, this is where from here you can basically just select your data type. So for date should enter into a data type, what? Date and time, right? Simple, is as simple as that. You click next and you put in the name. The name of the column is column date. So now for date, I can just say, so for this one, I can have 2 types of dates. Okay, let me not tell you that yet. I'm not going to tell you that in this particular class. So I'm going to just put dates. We can say date of entry, or let's just leave it as dates. If we need to edit it, we can do that on Power Apps. We'll say dates and save it. Now you can decide to include time. All right, but I don't want to include time. I just want a date. And I will save it. So this same way, you would come and add all the other fields that you want to have, right? I've shown us full name is of data type single line of text, track is of data type choice, date is of data type date and time. If we are adding something like trainers rating, how do you think we'll do that? What data type do you think we're going to have for trainers rating?
Number, data.
Huh? You
Multiple
said
lines
number.
of
Average rating.
multiple lines of text.
For trainers rating, not feedback, trainers rating.
Average rating.
Yeah, you can decide to choose average rating. Anyways, I'm going to leave that out for now. And so now I want to choose, I want to put in feedback. What do you think, what data type do you think we're going to use for feedback?
Multiple lines of text.
Thank you. So multiple lines of text, because they can decide to write stories to say, my feedback is that the trainer was so good and she was just very good. So yeah, so multiple lines of text. If you want to see this, if you come here, you can see what is it? All right, so once you just select, you give it your name, feedback, you can just save. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, right? You can have multiple. I'm going to stop here so that we'll see what Power Apps looks like. So if I come here, I go to office.com, because like I said, it is within your Office 365. Office.com. It's asking me to sign in. Have I not signed in with this particular? Why are you asking me to sign in again? Good. So now this is my office.com, and you can see Copilot there. So you can always ask Copilot whatever you want to ask Copilot. You can, if you have an agent and all of that. So for the tracks that are doing M365 Copilots, these are some of the things that they will teach them, but that's not what we are doing. So you are looking for Power Apps, right? So this is your Power Apps here. Remember when I was doing that intro, and this is Power Apps, this is Power Automate, this is Power BI. Can you see? This is the forms that we used for you, but you're going to select Power Apps here. And it will open what Power Apps is, and you will see it in action. So this is Power Apps. So aside from you coming to Power Apps to build an application, you can actually learn some things from Power Apps also. So if you go to learn, you can actually learn some things here. And I'm going to be giving us assignments here, but on the Power Apps, what we want to do today is on that one, this is what it looks like, right? These are some of the apps that I've created. So if I just come to apps, I can see some of the apps I've created, or I can just come to. So I remember that I said I'm going to. I remember that I said I'm going to show us some of the app that I am working on. So I'm currently working on a particular app for my YouTube channel, and I am just going to open it to show you some of the things that you can do. Okay, so now YouTube have not even seen this, and you'll be the first to see this. I just want to show you some of the things that you can do. I'm not yet done with the app, but it's enough to show you some of the things that we have that is possible. We should be ending the class now, but please give me some more minutes. We're almost done. Okay, so while this is loading to show us what is possible okay, perfect. I don't know what is currently wrong with
Yeah, so sorry. This is Rukayat. I was trying to
yeah,
raise my hand, but you didn't catch that. Please, could you
yeah,
please zoom
sorry.
in so that we can. A lot of people are sending that feedback that it's not clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Can you see better now?
Yes.
Okay. So currently this is one of the application that I am currently working on, right? My personal app that I'm working on to my YouTube channel. So this is for managing. So this is an application, right? Built with Canvas app, and it's for managing what's it called? This one is for managing equipment, assets for a particular organization. Now, if you come in here, you have some of the data that has been filled already. You can see it here. If you come to new request, so this is the form. This is a Power Apps form. Of course, I've manipulated this and I've worked on this and I've made it like this. All right. When we go to Power Apps now, here, and we're going to create our own, you will see what it looks like before you start manipulating it. But this is what a Power Apps form looks like, right? So these are some of the fields. And this app also uses SharePoint. So these are some of the fields from SharePoint, right? So I used a connector, I connected it to SharePoint, I brought it in, and I was able to, design my Power Apps form to look like this. If I submit data now, it would come here. All right, so I'm still working on some of these things. I can search for a particular equipment here. I can filter by date here. I can filter by status here. I'm still working on some of these things. All right, so these are some of the things that you can actually do with Power Apps. And you can even do way more than this, right? So I have so many screens that I have created. Okay. So I have so many screens that I've created, so many things that I'm currently still working on. All right. So I'm showing us this because if I take us back to Power Apps and we want to start, you're going to see a black canvas, right? And most times, if you're not very good with design or you've not seen a design that is possible, I've seen very, very ugly looking apps. And I mean it when I say ugly looking apps. And that's why I'm showing you this app now, because we must not do anything below this. All right. Why don't we give us an assignment? Please, I don't want to see anything that is not as fine as this. And I'm not even done with this anyways, but okay. So now I'm going to just give us a explanation of how to start building with Power Apps. So this is your Power Apps, all right? And like I said, so this is your Power Apps Studio. There are so many things you can do in the Power Apps Studio, but what we want to do in the Power Apps Studio today is that we want to create an application, all right? So from apps here, you can actually come to new app and you can create it, or you can just go to create and it will tell you start with Copilot, start with data, start with a page design, start with Canvas app. I'll start with a blank canvas. I'm going to start with a blank canvas. Now it's asking me, do you want a responsive layout? Do you want a tablet size? Do you want font size? I can choose a responsive layout, but I'm going to choose a tablet size, and we can actually make it into a responsive layout ourselves. So I'm just going to choose a tablet size. So what we want to do in this what I want to do in this class before we end is two things. So we've created our app, but it does not have a name yet, right? There's a place when you're creating that you can actually choose a name, but I did not do that. So if you do exactly what I did now, you will just go to settings here, right? This is the name of your app. So I'm just going to call it Textilers Attendance App. So for you, you can name it Attendance App. You can name it your name. You can say Lola's Attendance App, whatever you want to name it, right? Textilers Attendance App. Okay, so this is it, and I'll close it, and I will save here one time. You see, the name has changed. It is now Textilers Attendance App. So I will save one time now. So I know that this app now exists, even though I've not done anything there. This is now an app. It's now exists. So this is how it looks like, right? I would like to go over all of these things. This is a studio. This is Power App Studio. I would like to go over all of this Power App Studio and explain what they do. But because of our time, I will not do that. However, I have a video already that I was the one that created the video. It's on my YouTube channel. I'm going to give us the link. It would explain to you what each of these things mean. All right. Then our next class, I will go over it, and I'll go over it. If you have any questions, you can ask me. But the link is good. It would explain to you what all of these things are. However, Microsoft always does a lot of changes to their Microsoft does a lot of changes to their studios. Let me just put it like that. Power Apps now looks a little bit different than it looked in the video that I'm going to give you. It looks like this, but they've just done some minor changes to it. Okay. So what I want us to do in this particular application is that I want us to connect to SharePoint list. Remember that we've created our SharePoint list. Yes. I want us to connect to SharePoint list. So when we do that, then I will show us one other thing and we'll call it a day. Okay, so I don't want you to leave now. We are almost done, and this is very, very crucial, right? So now we have this particular studio to work with. In Power Apps, remember that we said Power Apps is drag and drop, right? There are some things that you'll be able to drag and drop into your Power Apps. But before we do the drag and drop, the first thing I want us to do is to connect to our SharePoint list from within our Power Apps. So this is your Power Apps Studio. This is what it looks like. For you to be able to connect to your data, you will come here, data. So these are the these are some of the components that you must get familiar with. This one is your tree view. If you select your tree view will show you everything that you have added to your all the components that you have added to your Power Apps. That's what tree view would show you. If you come to insert is where you do your drag and drop. Okay. And there's also insert here. It's the same thing. Can you see? It's the same thing. You can do your drag and drop. This is where you add your form. This is where you add input. This is where you add your buttons. This is basically where you add everything that I have here. You see all these things that I have here, I brought them in from insert. All right. But for it to now move, for instance, this is the one that I've created here. Where's it? So for me to select new requests, and let's say it will move. Currently, this one is not moving. Let me come here. So for me to select proceed and it's moving is because I have written power effects on this particular button. If I select this, it's because I've written a power effects formula on the button. That is why it is moving. All right. And you're able to see somebody saying something. Please mute your mic. So Ruka, you can help me mute the person that is talking, please. So please mute your mics. All right, so you're able to see forms, you're able to see things here because I came here and I inserted it. All right, now let's go back to the one we are building. Okay, so this is it. This is where you insert. But for you to connect to your data, you have to select data. So if you want to see what you have added, what did I say? under tree view, you will see it under tree view. If you want to insert anything to your canvas, because this is your canvas, it's blank right now. You can design it however you want. You come to your insert. If you want to connect to your data, this is where you go. So I would select add data, and these are the connectors. All right. So you can see it says connectors here. So these are some of the connectors that we have. Can you see it? So these are some of the connectors that we have. So most times I don't even come here to select connectors. What I just do is I just do add data. I go to search and I type the name of the component I want to connect to. I want to connect to SharePoint. I'll select SharePoint. So this is my SharePoint list. I'll select, if you showed me that, I just need to select one of it. So now it says connect to a SharePoint site. Remember that I said that the site I was using is what? Omolola. This is it here. Omolola. So from inside Power Apps, I'm already connecting to SharePoint. So I'll just select Omolola. Then these are all the lists that I have under this Omolola site, right? These are all the lists. I can see it here. But the name of our list is what again? Trial attendance. So this is it here, trial attendance. So you just need to select it and select connect, and that's it. So you say the data source trial attendance was added to your app. So under your data now, you would see I've been able to connect SharePoint to my Power Apps. So now all I need to do is I don't even need to go back to Power Apps anymore. Sorry, I don't need to go back to SharePoint anymore. When somebody actually puts in a data here, I can decide to show that data from within Power Apps because I've already connected to SharePoint. So I'll just use some controls to do that. But let's go to our tree view now. And the only thing we'll be adding to our tree view before we call this class, before we end this class, is a form, right? An edit form. So I'm just going to add an edit form to this. Now, Power Apps has introduced something we called modern controls, but I'm not going to go there right now. I'm going to give us as an assignment. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, before we meet again tomorrow, on Saturday rather, I would be giving us assignments. Rukaya to be dropping links of what we should do daily, what we should look at, right? There will not be a class, but you must be looking at something. So by the time we come on Saturday, you are not here. You are not where I stopped in this class. You have moved from here, and that's where I'm going to continue from. Do you understand? So one of the things I like to do is I like to rename, which is very important. You have to rename your screens so that you know the particular screen that you're working on. So this is by default screen 1. I am going to rename it, and I'm just going to name it form screen. So I'm using, see, I'm not putting space, form screen. I'm using Pascal again to write form screen. So it turns to form screen. So on the canvas of my form screen, I'm going to go to insert, and I'm going to insert an edit form. You see, my edit form is asking me, because the only data I've added is what? Is trial attendance. So my edit form is going to take from my SharePoint list. And that's why you should first go to your SharePoint list to put all the fields that you want in your SharePoint list. So this is how it comes. So this is it. It's as simple as this. You see the full name that, let me open SharePoint so that you see. See, title is here by default when you create a list. Full name, track, date, feedback. There are some other columns that you are not seeing that comes by default to SharePoint. So if I go to Power Apps here, right, because I've connected to SharePoint and I select form and I'm connecting my form to that SharePoint trial attendance, this is what it is. Can you see? It brings in all the things that I already have on my SharePoint list. So one of the things you can just do is you come to your edit data and you can remove the things you don't want. I don't want title. I don't want content type. So I'll remove it, and this is what I have. And you might be wondering, Lola, this is looking different from what you have here. Okay, it's because, like I said, I have edited this one, and that is why it looks like this, right? I have put in a lot of things here. That's why it looks like this. But by default, this is what you have. Okay, so now having this, you will now design it to your heart content, right? You design it based on the design skills that you have. You go online and check images of forms, and you design your own form to look how you want it to look, right? And most of the design you actually do drag and drop. It is when you're writing a formula that is when you use your power effects. And your power effects, this is where you write your power effects. Okay, this is where you're going to, this is called formula bar. You can see it says FX, right? This is your formula bar. This is where you write whatever you want to write. Okay, so one of the things I tell people, and what your take home is, this is a control. These are controls. You insert controls, right? You insert controls onto your Canva, and you use what we call property list to manipulate the controls that you have added. What do I mean by that? This is a control. It is a form control that you have added. And like I said, I like to rename anything I'm adding onto my tree view. I like to rename it. So I'm going to rename this one attendance form. I'll say attendance form. All right. See, I didn't put space. So for my attendance form, it is my control. My attendance form has properties. Okay. So I can select whatever property from here, or come to properties here, and you manipulate it to your art content. You manipulate it as much as you want. Okay, so if you select a particular, for instance, let me just do something quick. If I select properties fill, for instance, I can go to my formula bar. This is formula bar. When I send the links, you will know the name of some of these things there. If I go to my formula bar, I can change the color. So I can manipulate the color of my control by selecting a particular property and writing power effects there. Let me show you. So this is form, my control. I go to properties list. I look for a particular property that will do what I want it to do. How would you know? You will learn it, right? So fill property is what we use for the color, the particular color of any control, fill property. So for instance, if I want to speak to, let me come here. You see my form here, you notice that my screen here, the color of my screen is not white. The color of my screen here is pure white. So one of the things that I can do is I can select my screen, right? It also has properties. So the property here is, this is the property fill. The FX under property fill is what? Color.white. I can just change it to say color dots. It will bring me different kinds of colors. I can say azure. This is color azure. This is what it gives me. All right. Or if you know, for instance, for this one, I know that I did let me see. I know I did some things here. Let me look for the color of this particular one. That might confuse us, but don't worry, I'm going to explain it to us. Where is it? Up color, background color. Yeah, this one. Copy. So I can decide to change the color. Do you understand? I can decide to basically, Rukayat, you can still hear me, yes?
Yes, very clearly.
Perfect. So I can decide to change the color of my fill to whatever, and I can use, so for my properties, you can either manipulate it here from the formula bar or manipulate it here. Okay, you see, I've changed color dot azure. I changed it from the formula bar, right? I can come here and also change it. Okay, I can change it here. It will be black. If I know how to write, if I know RGBA value off my head, I can actually just write it, right? So instead of making it black, I can just do 0.5. So it's going to look like this. I can make it 0.3. It's going to look like this. So this is just this is basically simple. I've basically not done anything. This is just us putting an RGBA value in our field, right? So the color that I copied, there's another way to write that one. So is let me say Control V. Yes. So by saying basically this is how you write this one. So there's a function color value. For instance, your color can either be in RGBA, RGB, but in Power Apps, it can either be in RGBA or in hex value, for instance. So if you're using RGBA, you just need to write RGBA. You have it here. If you select it, you put your value there. So your value can be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.3, for instance. It will give you this color. Let's say I don't know RGBA value. There's another shortcut. I can just do color dot blue. See? Okay. Now, but please don't make your background this blue. This is not attractive. This is, in fact, it's hurting my eyes. So color dot blue. If you don't know the colors that we have in Power Apps, if you say color dot, it will give you so many kinds of different colors for you to, let's say India red. Okay. So this will give you so many colors for you to work with. All right. But if you know the hex value, which is what I use in this app, I use hex values, right? These are hex value. So the way to write X value is by saying color value. So you will know some of these things as you code, right? So I'm more familiar with some of these things because I've done it over time. So when you say color value, you will just put in the part. So you can go online and just copy hex value, right? And I have the X value already. So I will just put in the X value. Yeah, so once you put in the X value, the value the color would just come on. Now, teaching us how to write color is not really what I want to do, but what I'm just doing here is to show us that you can add controls. You can manipulate your controls. First, you need to know the property, and you need to know the property that does what. So field properties field property here, it manages things like the full color, you understand, right? Then when you know the property, you can either manipulate it from within the formula bar by writing power effects. So this is power effects, okay? Or you come to properties. There are some things, it's not everything you can see from properties, but there are some things that you see in properties. For instance, this particular form, this is a form. For this particular form, I can just quickly manipulate it a little, turn it to, this is number of columns. I can turn it to 2. All right, you see that it's changing. I can turn it to 1. Okay, I can come to fields and adjust how this is. I can just say full name, how it is shown. I want to show full name and date first before track and field feedback. I can come here and say, so first you have to unlock your date, your form. So unlock. So how am I unlocking? I select a particular track here, any of this, right? You can just select this. In fact, you can just come to your tree view to make it easier in case you don't know what I'm selecting. Just select tree view, right click, and you see unlock. You can do it like this, but what I do is I just select the particular field, I right click, I unlock. Select, right click, unlock. Now that I've done that, I can decide to select this feedback and say I want my feedback to be bigger. right? Just like what we have here. You can see that my reason for request is big. How did I do this? I can just come here. First, I will select the whole of the feedback. Make it big. Don't worry, we're going to put this on our YouTube channel, on TechSeller's YouTube channel, and you will see all of this. So when you have your own account, you can easily just replay back and do all these things that I'm doing. I know I'm fast. And remember that on YouTube, you can reduce the speed. Okay, you can pause. All right. So this is it. So you see that for me to do all of these things, if I'm using JavaScript or I'm using HTML, I will basically have to write all these things, style it, how wide I want it to be, and all of that. But for Power FX, I'm just dragging. So this is when they say drag and drop. All right, you're just dragging it. Do you understand? You're just dragging. You're just dragging. If you need to change all these colors to look like what I have here, to an extent, you have an idea of what to do. You select your form and you look for the properties that will do that. Okay. For instance, you can go to maybe chevron colors, border colors, and all of that. But I would explain that in our next class. We'll give us links and all of that would help us with all of these things. So this is where I'm going to end the class today, right? Because we did a lot of introduction, we did a lot of talking today. We didn't get to build so much today, but we were able to build what? We're able to build our SharePoint list. We're able to connect our SharePoint list to our Power Apps. You now know just a little bit of what Power Apps looks like. We've brought in our form. We've connected our data to our form. We've connected our data to our Power Apps. And you've seen connectors, right? So this is your data connectors, right? You've basically seen it here. And another thing I'm going to say before we end our class is it's important you save. Always save your app. If I don't save and I leave here, Power App stays in the cloud. It means that it's not saving on my computer. It's saving right in the cloud. So I have to save this. Or I can also come to settings and I would put on save changes every 2 minutes. Save changes every 2 minutes. But most times this changing would, next time I come here, I have to come and check to ensure that this is not togged off, maybe by accident. So it's togged on. And ensure you always save your app. Okay. But like I said, we're going to send links that would explain all of these things because it might still, look so different. But I also want you to try it out. Once you get your account, play with these things, play with your form. What can you do with your form? Check how can you change some of these colors? How can you do this? Definitely we'll explain all of that, but it's faster if you are proactive. We have just 6 classes and we don't want to, take too much time for each class. Today now we've done almost 2 hours, 30 minutes. 2 hours, 20 minutes because we started 10 minutes, 10 minutes after 10 West African time. So yeah, we're going to end now. This is where I take your questions. Do you have any question for me? Does anybody have any question? Don't worry, we are done. We are done. Somebody was crying. I have another class by 3 p.m. Don't worry, calm down. We're done. Let me stop the recording at this point. Yes, so I've stopped the recording. Please